If you're currently failing to achieve your goals, the problem isn't with you. The problem isn't that you lack competency or that there's something inherently wrong with you. The problem is that you simply have never learned how to build a system. A system is designed to make the process easier for you, and actually it makes it even easier over time. I was somebody that literally could not follow through with any one of my commitments to now today being someone where I feel so extremely confident that I can achieve something, not because I'm smarter than you, not because I'm more talented or more gifted than you, simply because I've learned how to design these systems, and now after this video, you'll have practical steps to design your own. Number one, make your goals specific and realistic. So there's two parts to that. In terms of specificity, you can't tell me that you want to become more fit. You have to tell me that you want to gain 3 pounds of muscle. You can't tell me that you want to become stronger. You have to tell me that you want to bench 225 pounds. If it's not a specific outcome, it's impossible for us to determine whether or not you've been successful. And it's so much easier when you have a clear destination for us to reverse engineer the path to actually get there. Now, the second part to this is making it realistic. A lot of your goals, you are setting yourself up for failure. If you are somebody that can't even get out of bed recently, if you're somebody that is having a hard time making your bed in the mornings, or if you're somebody that has a really tough time even sticking to a specific routine, and then now you're telling me that you want to build $1 million business, there's no way that you're going to achieve that. And in fact, you set yourself up for so much failure. And what happens is that your behavior is actually a reinforcement in your brain that you're not capable of achieving it, right? So when you're setting these unrealistic expectations, you're setting yourself up for not failure in that moment, not just that, but also failure for the future, because you're not reinforcing this identity that you can't achieve something. When in reality, the goal was silly from the start. So anytime you're making a goal, just try to think about where I am realistically, right? If you are to then reverse engineer that and say, maybe instead of making $1 million, I need to get a job. Like maybe I just don't have a job. I don't have a part-time job. I've never even worked before. Maybe that's the immediate first step. I want to land a part-time job at 7-Eleven, right? Maybe that's the whole initiative. And that should be a great first step. You learn that, you develop it, then you reinforce the identity that, you know what, I can actually make a promise to myself and follow through with it and commit to it, and I have success with it. That's how you change your identity altogether. So that is step one. Now, before we move on to the next point, I am someone that's entirely predicated around practical implementation. I know that theory means nothing without practice. So I challenge you in this moment to actually go through the 4 steps with me. Just pick a goal. It doesn't have to be the one that's immediately the most relevant. Just choose a goal and go through the 4 steps with me and just comment those 4 steps. And when you do that, I can go and respond to it and give you some feedback, because this has changed my life and I want you to be able to design your own systems too. Step 2 is to reverse engineer inputs. Inputs. I can repeat that word a trillion times and it won't be enough, because everything I do in my life is predicated around that word input. So if you think about any system designed as an engineer, you have inputs, you have the system, and then you have the outputs. Everyone only focuses on the outputs. Everyone thinks about, I want to achieve that 2-3 pound muscle gain. I want to achieve the 225 bench press. But that outcome, if you don't ever have any body of work to prove that you can do that, you don't know how to get there, right? You might know how someone on YouTube does it, or you might know how your favorite, let's say, fitness person online does it, but you don't know how you can actually achieve it, right? And that's a problem. So instead of you immediately jumping to that result after you get there and you're specific and realistic about that goal, then we have to go into inputs. What's actually going to get us there, right? So for example, if we're saying add 2-3 pounds of muscle, you probably have to eat quite a lot of protein if you haven't done that yet. So 1 gram per pound, maybe that's the initial step. So maybe that's a particular input. You're going to every single day eat 1 gram of protein per pound. Maybe the other one is you're going to include 3 to 4 high intensity strength training sessions throughout a week. Maybe you're designing it so that you have a push-pull leg split and a full body day split. However you want to do that, these are input focused. And what's great about input focused solutions is that it's actually in your control, right? You can't control if you're going to gain 2 to 3 pounds of muscle if you've never done it before in the next month. You can control how many times you go to the gym. You can control what you eat. And that is the real way that people have success. So always remember that any type of success in your life, it's not that you need more information, it's always that you need more execution. Stop overthinking the process of how you're going to derive that result. Think about, all right, how do I do the thing? How do I actually go about on a daily basis having inputs for myself that I can stay accountable for? And how can I track that input? So when you're tracking your success, it's input focused, okay? Think about, did I show up that day? Can you put a checkbox to where you are currently at the end of the day? If that's the case, then that's all you can do. And then we will move into point number 3. You need to create a deadline. So Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time allotted for it. And I experience this every single day. The moment I don't craft a deadline for any particular assignment that I have, and I have probably like 100 new ones that come onto my Slack channel every single morning, if I don't put a deadline to it, it'll never get done. In fact, even when I was editing one of the videos for the editing team and I was supposed to give reviews for it and make my comments on it, it took me like a week and a half to make comments on something that should have taken me like 30 minutes at most. It's because I didn't put a deadline to it, so that's my fault. And that means that the rest of the pipeline for the rest of the team can't be fulfilled, and that's my fault. And so what I've learned is that if you can't craft a deadline to something, you will never get it done. And that goes for every single goal of yours in your entire life. So now that you've gone ahead with the prior 2 steps, I want you to create a deadline for when this is going to be achieved. And I want you to hold yourself to that standard. But everything else that I've said in the prior 2 points still applies here, right? So don't tell me that you want to gain 2 to 3 pounds of muscle in the next week. Create a realistic time frame for yourself. And in fact, you have no excuse, because now ChatGPT can tell you what's a realistic standard for yourself, particularly to your context. So use the dictate function on ChatGPT and tell it exactly what your body weight is. Tell it in terms of your training process. Tell it in terms of what your previous history has been. And tell it in terms of the previous struggles that you've gone through. And then ask it what's the realistic time frame for it if you're being conservative. And if it tells you 3 months, great, that's your new time frame. Number 4, track your progress. And so I referred to this a little bit ago, but you're tracking your progress specifically for input-based metrics. And because you're going to be doing that, it will allow you to actually revise your inputs. What most people have the very big issue of is that they're just result, or let's say output focused. And that means that only by the end of the 2, 3, 4 weeks or the 2-3 month time frame that you've given yourself, they will look at the output and they'll think, oh my gosh, I haven't achieved that. And they would just guess at, let's say, what inputs or what should I do and change for it. And then they'll be weary of the fact that, oh, I didn't achieve this. Instead, take control over this process and say, if you're going to give yourself 3 months deadline and that's your time frame, then you're going to do weekly check-ins, right? These intermittent check-ins are input driven. So you're going to assess it and you're going to say, am I getting closer to this output? Maybe then it's like in a month from now, you're doing a stronger assessment. You're saying, all right, is there a correlation to the input to the output that I have desired? If the answer is no, you should revise that input. So maybe instead of you saying, I need 3 strength training sessions, you're saying, I need 5 strength training sessions. Or if you're telling me that, because you can't show up for as often as you'd like throughout a week, that you have to change the duration of each session and do less frequency throughout the week. But those are input derived changes. And that's what you want. You want to continuously refine these inputs. And what's the greatest element to this is that the outcome of this entire process, that once you actually do gain the 3 pounds of muscle, you will know how to repeat that success. And most people can't do that. Most people fall into their success through pure luck. And that means that there's no system behind them to take them to the next level. Here's a really great example of this. A lot of creators are going to be viral, right? And they will dominate your Explore page for, let's say, a month or 2 months. And after that season is over, you know what happens? They fall off the face of the planet of the earth. And you're thinking to yourself right now, oh wait, I remember that one creator. Oh yeah, where did they even go? It's because they've never learned a system. They've lucked into their success. Now, luck is a big part of anyone's success, but if you can combine luck with some sort of systematic input approach, then you can repeat that success. So instead of going viral 1 time, you can go viral 150 times, the way that I have in the last 2 years, right? That's powerful, and that's how you can grow into someone that's the top 1% of the work that you do. So always remember, everything that I've just shared with you is the 4-step process of developing a system for yourself, and it applies in every single circumstance that you're in, whether it's fitness, career driven, whether it's relationship driven, whether it's predicated around, let's say, your business or content driven. You have to build systems, and hopefully this makes it really clear how you can easily design it for yourself. With that being said, that wraps up the video. So give this video a thumbs up, comment what resonated with you the most, and of course, subscribe. I love you all, and I'll see you all at the top.